Forward-looking statements and non-IFRS measures. Today's presentation may contain forward-looking statements, which are any predictions, projections, or other statements about future events based on current expectations and assumptions. Actual results could differ materially from these forward-looking statements because of a variety of risks and uncertainties, known and unknown. You can consult BRP's public disclosures on SEDAR+, EDGAR, and BRP's website, including its management's discussion and analysis for the fiscal year ended on January 31st, 2026, and in other continuous disclosure materials filed from time to time with Canadian securities regulatory authorities and the Securities and Exchange Commission for a description of the risks, uncertainties, and other factors that could influence actual results. BRP does not undertake any duty to update forward-looking statements. In addition, some of the financial measures discussed over the course of this presentation are not recognized measures under IFRS. You can refer to BRP's management's discussion and analysis for the fiscal year ended on January 31st, 2026, and for the first quarter of the fiscal year ending January 31st, 2027, for a complete definition and complete reconciliation of such measures to the IFRS measures.
In us exists the need to move, to chase every horizon, and embrace bumps in the road. We are never idle, restless, relentless, resilient. This is how we move, how we win, how we roll. Get moving.
Bonjour.
Good morning. Welcome to BRP's Annual Meeting of Shareholders. My name is Pierre Baudouin, and I am the Chair of the Board of Directors of BRP. On behalf of the Board, I would like to thank you for being here today. If you will allow me, I would like to first address our English-speaking audience, and then I will continue in French.
Good morning. Welcome to BRP's Annual Meeting of Shareholders. My name is Pierre Baudouin, and I am the Chair of the Board of Directors. Please note that since the main portion of the meeting will be held in French, you can always benefit from the simultaneous English translation by clicking on the language icon on the right side of the webcast platform. If you have any questions, you can submit them in the language of your choice. In
accordance with BRP's general bylaws, I will act as chair of the meeting. I would like to introduce you to the people who are with me here today. Denis Levotte, President and Chief Executive Officer, Sébastien Martel, Chief Financial Officer, and Martin Langelier, Chief Legal Officer and Corporate Services. I would now like to ask Martin to present certain procedures relating to the conduct of this meeting. Thank you, Pierre. BRP shareholders have been invited to attend the meeting via webcast live, a method that has allowed us to reach out to many shareholders over the past 5 years. We would like to remind you of some of the rules to ensure the orderly conduct of the meeting and to allow you to participate fully. As described in the management proxy circular, only registered shareholders and validly appointed proxy holders registered with our transfer agent Computershare may attend, ask questions, and vote at the meeting. All other persons who wish to do so may do so as guests. People entitled to participate have the opportunity to submit questions to BRP at any time during the meeting electronically, directly on the webcast platform by following the instructions displayed on the screen. If we have not received any questions by the time we reach a specific topic on the agenda of the meeting, we will wait a brief moment and then proceed to the next item on the agenda of the meeting. Registered shareholders and proxy holders were also given the opportunity to transmit their questions to BRP prior to the meeting by email. For today's meeting, all matters will be voted on by a single electronic ballot. Registered shareholders and proxy holders will be able to vote until the last item of business is voted on. Thank you, Martin. I now call the meeting to order and propose that we proceed. In accordance with BRP's bylaws, Martin will act as secretary of the meeting. Pursuant to the authority vested in me as chair of the meeting, I appoint the representatives of Computershare Investor Services, Inc., BRP's transfer agent, present here today as scrutineers for the meeting. They will count the proxies and votes cast online today. I have with me the certificate of Computershare Investor Services, Inc., indicating that the notice of meeting was properly given in accordance with the Canada Business Corporations Act and the bylaws of the corporation. Accordingly, unless there are any objections, I will dispense with the reading of the notice of meeting. The report provided by Computershare Investor Services, Inc. prior to the meeting confirms that we have the prescribed quorum. I now declare the annual meeting of shareholders of BRP duly convened and validly constituted to proceed with the items on the agenda. I will now turn the floor over to Martin, who will provide an overview of the meeting proceedings and will set out voting procedures. Thank you, Pierre. We will now begin the meeting with an overview and vote on the matters formally identified in the notice of meeting, followed by the preliminary voting results. Presentations will then be made by our President and CEO, Denis, and by our CFO, Sébastien. Finally, there will be a question and answer period which will take place and where BRP's management will answer questions submitted in advance of the meeting or electronically through the webcast platform during the meeting. Based on the preliminary count of proxies received and votes counted, the scrutineers have informed me that approximately 209 million votes for multiple voting shares and 39 million votes for subordinate voting shares are represented here today. For those of you who are entitled to vote and have not already done so, at the appropriate time, you will see the electronic ballot appear on the left of your screen, allowing you to vote. In order to facilitate the deliberations, since the meeting is being held virtually, I will move all motions as a shareholder. I will now turn the floor over to Pierre for the next portion of the meeting. Thank you, Martin. Let's move to the first item on our agenda. I now submit the consolidated financial statements of BRP for the year ended January 31st, 2026, and the related auditor's report. As these documents have been sent in accordance with the provisions of the law to all shareholders who requested them, I will dispense Martin from the reading of them. We will now proceed with the election of BRP's directors. BRP management proposes 12 nominees for election as directors of BRP. You have been provided in the management proxy circular with a short biography and other relevant information about them. I will now ask Martin to introduce the proposed nominees candidates as directors. I am pleased to nominate each of the following persons for election as a director until the next annual meeting of shareholders or until his or her successor is elected or appointed. Pierre Beaudoin, Hélène Beaudoin, Joshua Breckenstein, Charles Bombardier, Ernesto M. Hernandez, Catherine Kunze, Denis Levotte, Nicolas Nomikos, Edward Philip, Michael Ross, Barbara Samajic, Hildegard Maria Vortman. Are there any questions from the participants regarding any of these nominations? No, we do not have any questions. Now declare the nominations closed, and we will proceed on the vote on this matter. You may vote for or against each of these candidates. We will give you a few seconds to enter your vote. But you can vote or change your vote until the ballot closes, and that will take place when the last item on the agenda is presented. We will now proceed with the appointment of PricewaterhouseCoopers as BRP's auditor. PricewaterhouseCoopers is being nominated for the first time as auditors of BRP, replacing Deloitte. This nomination follows a rigorous tender process conducted by the Audit Committee during fiscal year 2026, in line with our commitments to exemplary governance practices. On behalf of BRP, I'd like to express our sincere appreciation to Deloitte for its 20 years of dedicated service as BRP's external auditor since 2006. I would now like to ask Martin to make a motion to appoint the auditor. Thank you. I propose that PricewaterhouseCoopers be appointed as BRP's auditor until the close of the next annual meeting of shareholders of BRP. Thank you. Are there any questions from the participants with regards to the appointment of the auditor? No, we do not have any questions. Okay. Since we have not received any questions from the participants, let's move to the vote. We will now proceed to a vote on the advisory resolution regarding BRP's approach to executive compensation as set out in the management proxy circular. As explained in this circular, since this is an advisory resolution, the results of the vote will not be binding on BRP's board of directors. However, members of the Human Resources and Compensation Committee will take the outcome into consideration in their future review of the principles, policies, programs, or mechanisms relating to executive compensation. I would now like to ask Martin to make a motion to approve this resolution. I move on an advisory basis and without diminishing the roles and responsibilities of the board of directors that the shareholders accept the approach to executive compensation disclosed in the management proxy circular. Are there any questions from participants with regards to the advisory vote on executive compensation? No, we don't have any questions. Okay, we will now move to the vote on this item. There being no further business to conduct, I declare the voting on all items of business closed. The scrutineers have completed the preliminary vote count for each of the items on the agenda. I would therefore like to invite Martin to share with us the preliminary results of the vote. I am pleased to report that according to the preliminary scrutineers report, the 12 nominees for election as directed were duly elected. The appointment of PricewaterhouseCoopers as BRP's auditor has also been approved. And finally, the advisory resolution on BRP's approach to executive compensation has also been adopted. A press release regarding the official detailed voting results will be published on BRP's website and on SEDAR+ following the meeting. On this, Pierre, I turn the floor back over to you. Thank you. I'd now like to invite BRP's President and CEO, Denis, and the CFO, Sébastien, to make their presentations. Thank you. Dear shareholders, BRP partners, ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to speak to you today. This is my first annual shareholders meeting of BRP. I'd like to mention that the accomplishments happened under the accomplishments that I'm going to be sharing happened under the leadership of José Boisjoli. Over the past 22 years, he has driven remarkable growth that has made BRP a global leader in the motorsport industry. Since I have arrived, I have been impressed by BRP's strength, its strategic positioning, and its deeply rooted values. This is an organization with heart and grit, exceptional talent, and a network of truly committed dealers. I'm thrilled with the idea of joining this chapter of BRP. Our team successfully rose to challenges in fiscal 2026 despite the economic uncertainties caused by a volatile tariff environment that affected our industry. And in spite of all of this, we delivered financial results that exceeded expectations. After making significant progress on our inventory reduction plan in the first half of the fiscal year, we recorded solid revenues and earnings growth in the second half, thanks to the successful launch of our new products. Our revenues and normalized diluted earnings per share increased by 7% to reach $8.4 billion and 5.21 cents or $5.21 per share, respectively. In terms of retail sales, the North American motorsport industry experienced a slight decline during fiscal 2026 due to an uncertain economic environment. As for us, as expected, our market shares declined in the first half of the year as other manufacturers cleared their high inventory levels through significant discounts. However, the arrival of our new off-road vehicles at our dealerships was a real game changer. Thus, as a result, in the third and fourth quarters, we recorded record market shares for those periods in the utility side-by-side vehicles. In addition, our market share for high displacement off-road vehicles increased by nearly 9 points between October and January. Another highlight of fiscal 2026 was the unveiling of our strategic plan, which we call Mission 28 or M28, which aims to enable us to realize our full potential in the motorsport industry. Our team is focused on implementing this plan, and we have already progressed on a number of key elements. Very much specifically, market share gains for our new off-road product, an increase in the number of dealers in North America, growth in our international operations, and improved operational efficiencies. I will continue to update you on our M5 achievements over the coming quarters. As you know, innovation is part of our BRP DNA. Year after year, we expand our product lines with new models featuring unique capabilities, pushing the boundaries of technology constantly. These innovations allow us to enrich consumer experiences and position the company on the path to sustainable success. For side-by-side vehicles, we launched a new generation of Can-Am Defender HD11, further cementing its reputation as the most capable, versatile, and reliable utility vehicle in its class. We also enhanced Maverick R by integrating features designed for rocky terrains. On the ATV all-terrain vehicle segment, we launched electric Can-Am Outlander, powered by our modular Rotax e-power technology. And we introduced the Outlander Max 6x6, the most rugged model in the Can-Am lineup, with its 6-wheel drive, robust chassis, and powerful Rotax engine packages. For Sea-Doo, in seasonal products, we continued to enhance the personal watercraft experience with new connectivity features. In pontoon boats, in that category, the 300 horsepower Rotax 1630 Ace engine was added to the select models in the Switch family. For Ski-Doo and Lynx, we have offered comprehensive lineups while enhancing versatility, functionality, and connectivity. Our teams remain deeply driven by the desire to design and bring to market new products that shape the industry. In fact, since its inception, BRP has won more than 200 international design awards, including 20 new ones over the course of fiscal 2026. I'd like to congratulate our design team, which was named Red Dot Design Team of the Year. This is one of the most prestigious awards in the field, awarded for the first time to a Canadian company. After Ferrari, Apple, and Porsche, BRP has now joined an exclusive circle of renowned brands. Before continuing, I'd like to highlight some of our the progresses that we made in sustainability. First of all, environmentally speaking, we have implemented a database for our direct suppliers that allows us to accurately track upstream CO2 emissions. On the social front, I'm pleased to share that we have achieved the lowest overall recordable accident rate in our history. We are at 0.42. This rate is a key health indicator, safety performance indicator. It's a key indicator that allows us to track our progress in risk prevention. At BRP, the goal is simple: 0 accidents. And finally, we continued to engage our global network in our Stand Up to Bullying program, And in November, more than 6,000 BRP employees, dealers, ambassadors, and partners participated in our Yellow Day, or Yellow Days, which allowed us to raise donations that brought our total contributions to over $10 million since the launch of our initiative. We'll talk about this again in the fall as we celebrate 5 years. Fiscal 2026 was the end of our corporate social responsibility, 25 corporate social responsibility plan, and building on our achievements, we recently launched our new 2030 sustainability program, Beyond the Adventure. It balances performance and sustainability through a rigorous continuous improvement approach. It is based on ESG pillars, and I'm so proud to begin my journey at BRP with a plan that reflects our aspirations to become better and better day after day. In conclusion, I'd like to reaffirm that despite economic turbulence, as well as tensions associated with tariffs and the geopolitical situation, we will continue to rely on our adaptability, ingenuity, and our determination. Throughout our history, we've often had to deal with tariff changes. Thanks to the talent of our teams, we have always managed to find solutions. On the short term, our priority is to implement mitigation measures to protect our business and to execute our M28 plan. As such, we continue to invest in research and development to bring products to market that constantly push the boundaries. I'm also thrilled to be working closely with our management team and the members of the board of directors to develop our next strategic plan and identify future growth opportunities. Thanks to the strength of our brands, the loyalty of our customers, the ongoing commitment of our dealers, and the dedication of our employees, our foundations are extremely solid. We trust that we have the capacity to strengthen our position as a leader in the motorsport industry over the long term and to create sustainable value for our shareholders. With that, I'd like to turn the floor over to Sébastien. Denis, thank you very much and good morning. I'll briefly review our results for fiscal 2026. As Denis mentioned, over the past year, we demonstrated our ability to face challenges and come out on top despite relatively difficult market conditions. BRP thus ended fiscal 2026 with results slightly higher than those of 2025 and also above our expectations. Revenues reached $8.4 billion, representing a 6.8% increase compared to the previous fiscal year. Normalized EBITDA amounted to $1.1 billion, up 4.3% from the previous year. This improvement reflects an increase in gross margin attributable to favorable pricing, reduced sales, promotions, as well as reductions in production and distribution costs. Normalized net income reached $383 million, or $5.21 per diluted share, compared to $362 million, or $4.86 per diluted share for the previous year. Given disciplined management of working capital and capital expenditures, we generated strong cash flows of $929 million. These funds were used, in particular, to repay $336 million in long-term debt. We also returned $113 million to our shareholders through share repurchases totaling $50 million and dividend payments In March 2026, we announced an increase of more than 16% of the quarterly dividend, bringing it to 25 cents per share, thereby demonstrating our confidence in our ability to maintain sound cash management. In closing, thank you to all of our shareholders for their support and their trust in BRP. I'll now turn the floor back over to Pierre Beaudoin to continue the meeting. Thank you, Denis. Thank you, Sébastien, for this overview of the previous year. It is now question and answer time. If you have not yet submitted your questions, please do so by clicking on the messaging tab and by following the instructions that will appear. I'd like to remind you that your questions should be of general interest to all shareholders and not of a personal nature. If your question relates to your personal situation, a BRP representative will communicate with you after the meeting, as long as you've provided your contact information. You can ask your questions in either English or French. It is as you wish. Martin, have we received any questions? No, not just yet. Let's just wait a couple of moments. Still no questions. With no questions, I'm going to turn the floor back over to Pierre for the conclusions. We're now at the end of our meeting. We've dealt with all of the points on our agenda. You have the documents, and we have dealt with all of these. We have confirmed the sending of documents, the formula or the form of proxy was submitted by management. The report and all of the documents submitted by Computershare were along with consolidated financial results. Therefore, I confirm the end of our meeting. Thank you for your presence and your participation here today.